Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the album Evil Aggressor by Lethal Shock. This is their debut album, and it was released in 2016, although this particular vinyl version was released a year later in 2017. Lethal Shock is a relatively newer thrash metal band. They started in, I think, 2008, but for some reason didn't put out their debut album, this one, until 2016. Yeah. Anyway, so before I get into the songs, I'm going to start off with naming off the band members. There's only three. Steve Biudetti on guitar, Patrick Shock on vocals, and Justin Furnell on drums. Also, it doesn't really say who does what exactly, considering that the titles of what member does what is kind of, I guess, over exaggerated, kind of. So I can't tell. I guess the guitarist does both the guitar and bass. Because here's exactly what it says. So Steve I can't pronounce that, but as Steve Biudetti, it says 6-stringed savagery, so I'm guessing it's guitar and bass. It doesn't really specify exactly. Of course, Patrick Shock does the vocals. It says violence and vocals, and then Justin Furnell, brute force, beatings, and yaps. So I'm guessing Steve. I'm just gonna say Steve because I don't want to mess up the last name again. But I guess Steve does the bass and guitar. Patrick Shock does the vocals, and I guess Justin Furnell does the drums, and I guess yaps meaning backing vocals. Yeah, it's always kind of confusing when they, over exaggerate the titles of the position of the band members. Anyway. So the album starts off with the song Sulphur Heart, and right away it has this really cool sort of intro bit, this really cool sort of epic intro, this like drum intro, and it just starts off right off the bat, super quick, super aggressive. Yeah, this is a really great song to start off the album. Really catchy riff, great choruses that go along very well with the main riff, and two awesome guitar solos. One a bit more, traditional thrash metal-ish, one a bit more melodic and almost traditional heavy metal kind of. But yeah, it's just a great way to start off the album. And I also I love the intro bit, and I love the fact that there's two different style of guitar solos, which is kind of a theme throughout the album, which I'll get to later on. But yeah, Sulphur Heart, amazing. Also the vocals, I almost forgot, but the vocals on this song and every single song are pretty much not your typical thrash metal vocals. They're almost sort of a combination of harsher thrash metal vocals with a tinge of almost death metal-esque kind of rasp and guttural nature to them. But anyway, I'm getting off track. But yeah, Sulphur Heart, amazing album opener. The next song is Atomic Abstinence. This one is also really good. I would say it's as impactful as the one before it, but it's still really good. Again, great choruses, great riffing, two amazing guitar solos. And yeah, pretty much almost everything great about the first one. This one, although I think the first one is a little a little better, a little bit more memorable. But anyway, the next song is Up the Voltage. This one picks up the album again. It picks up again the speed a little bit more, just like the first song. This one also has just an amazing sort of catchy riff and chorus to it, and again, two guitar solos. Again, first one a bit more. One of them is a bit more technical. One of them is a bit more melodic. And this one is a bit heavier than the first two, a little bit. Yeah, just another great song. The next song is my favorite song on the album, Endless Midnight. This is probably one of the more overall melodic kind of songs. Now, yeah, sure, there's a lot of songs on here that have a little bit more melodic edge to it, but I think this one in particular, I don't know, it really caught my ear the first time I listened to this. It just has a little bit more catchy chorus than the rest of the songs, a little bit more sort of like melodicness. It's just a song that, like, even though I love pretty much all the songs on here, spoiler alert, I love all the songs on here, this song really caught my attention and has just become my favorite song on here. Yeah, it's just a really great song. Again, even though it has pretty much the same formula as most of the songs on here, you know, melodic chorus, fast, heavy but melodic riff, two different guitar solos, one more melodic, one more technical. It's still, I think it's a little bit a cut above the rest, in my opinion. Yeah, Endless Midnight is great. I'm Your Hero. This one is probably one of, if not the shortest song on here. And even though I like it, even though I like it and it's enjoyable, I will say in an objective point of view, it is definitely the weakest track on here. Again, it's not bad, and it's not that it's bad, and it's not that it's not memorable or anything, but just this song, I'm Your Hero, compared to everything else on the album, it does kind of not quite compared to the rest, but I still like it. Again, it's pretty much the same. Although this one does kind of, it's an interesting, it's one of the few that sort of trips up the formula a bit, whereas most of the other ones have the same sort of formula. This one's a bit different. This one's a lot more straightforward thrash, a lot heavier. It only really has one solo, and it's the more technical one, whereas, again, most of the songs on here have two, one technical, one more melodic. This one just has the one technical solo, and it's a bit more heavier, a bit more straightforward, thrashier, and it's not melodic like most of the other songs on here. So, yeah, even though it kind of has its downside where it's the weaker track on the album, it has an upside to where it's definitely different than most of the songs on here. But yeah, I'm Your Hero, pretty good actually, but again, not quite as good as the rest. Next one is Fear the Devil's Child. This one is a shorter song as well, not as short as I'm Your Hero. This one also kind of has the same sort of tripped up, breaks the formula a little bit, kind of like I Am Your Hero. Although this one does have a little, like, it has a slight difference to it. Just a different, sort of like, I can't explain it. There's a slight difference. Again, it kind of is the same, but slightly different. But, it's still a great song. Even if it is kind of short and kind of more simplistic in terms of just the structure and the lyrics. Yeah. Next up is Iron Fisted Assault. This one is also one of my absolute favorites on here. One of the riff that goes along with this chorus is like a battering ram. Just super probably the most bombastic riff off the entire album. Just super fast, straight to the point, but also kind of catchy. Again, goes perfectly, like the chorus goes in time perfectly with the main riff on here. And again, it has the more, two solos with, again, one more technical, one more melodic. It just has a really cool. Now, while I do like, I do really like the solo work on this one, but like I said, the riff along with the chorus in this song is really what stands out to me the most. Um, but yeah, as a song overall, it's really good. But for some reason, the riffing coupled with the chorus on this one seems to be the highlight of the song, at least for me. Next up is another amazing song, "I Rock in Hell." This one is it kind of feels like, I guess, the anthem of the album, or not the anthem of the, not no, yeah, it's not the epic of the album, not by a long shot. But it does feel like it is one of those songs that's meant to be, one of those like standout songs of a band's career. I guess along with like maybe like a Sulphur Heart or um Endless Midnight, where you know how like on bands albums, there's always those a couple standout songs on each albums that become basically anthems to that band. The I Rock in Hell even though it's it's a bit quicker of a song, it's a bit shorter of a song, but it definitely feels like it, like, as the band progresses, as they put out more and more albums, this is going to be one of those absolute standout songs that becomes an anthem. But yeah, it's just a really great song, very, I guess, anthemic in a way. Very it's another one that has those two guitar solo kind of thing to it. But these ones, I guess, stand out the most just because I guess there's just a little bit more, I guess, not thought, but a little bit more. They're not as sort of like, I don't know. I guess for more or less a little bit more thought out, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a really great, fun sounding song with just everything stands out in this song, really. Next up is the title track, "Evil Aggressor." Yeah, this one's really good. I wouldn't say it's one of the better ones on here. Just like with "I'm Your Hero," it's not one of the more standout songs, but it's still very enjoyable. It definitely is a bit more straightforward. It does have a little bit more of that melodic edge, but not as much as some of the other songs on here. And as for a title track, it is decent. And I do enjoy this song. Although I don't know, part of me wishes one of the other songs would have been the title track. I don't know why, but it's a good song. But at the same time, it's kind of an odd choice for the title track. But yeah, other than that minor criticism, it's a great song. The album ends with the bonus track, "Mean Machine." Yeah, this is a great album closer. Now, I guess originally, Evil Aggressor ended the album, and I don't think that would have been a good closing track. It's a good song, but definitely wouldn't have been a good closing track. Whereas "Mean Machine" is definitely a better choice for a closing track, and I'm glad they added that as a bonus track and technically the closer of the album. Yeah, this one is a bit more fitting, I guess, because the album opens with the more anthemic, more sort of catchy kind of thing with "Sulphur Heart," and it ends with that kind of thing with "Mean Machine" as well. Great sort of like mirrored sort of thing. Ends with one type of song, and then begins with a certain type of song and ends with the same as well, with sort of different sounding songs mixed in as well. But yeah, just a great end to the album. So before I get into my final thoughts on the verdict, I'm gonna show off the artwork really quick. Yeah, this is a really cool artwork. Now, as for the colors, they kind of keep it simplistic, but I think that works for the best. Mostly it's just greens, grays, yellows, and a little bit of sort of like whites as well. and then an orange or orange. But yeah, the coloring is kind of simplistic, not too much going on in the color variety. But again, it works to its advantage, in my opinion. I also love just the overall idea. It's like this. It's a graveyard, but there's this demon with like a. I guess he's carrying a mobile amp. Like, yeah, at first I thought it was like one of those like backpack thingies the Ghostbusters have, but no, he's a mini amp strapped to his back. Which he has his guitar plugged in, and he's shooting a laser out of his guitar at a skeleton. Kind of, it may be a little bit cheesy, but it's still pretty cool. And I love how they have the logo, not the logo, the what is it called? Basically the lethal shock symbol. On the toxic waste or toxic waste warning kind of symbol, I guess, right here, which is also part of the logo as well. Also, yeah, I really love the logo. The logo kind of almost is sort of a death metal kind of logo, I guess. And I mean, in a sense that it doesn't seem like your typical thrash metal style of logo. It has a lot sharper edges. It does feel more like something that would be on a death metal album. But you know what? It's still pretty unique. And I like how the little symbol, their symbol, is sort of incorporated into the logo itself and is the O of the word shock. As for the back, you get a bigger version of the logo, the band members, and the song titles. Overall, this is a really promising start to a really promising band. Like I said, even though they started back in 2008, they didn't put out their first album, which is this is their first album, by the way. If you didn't, if I didn't, I don't remember if I said it was their first album. I'm pretty sure I did, but if on the off chance I didn't say it was their first album, this is their first album. And yeah, for some reason, even though they started in 2008, they didn't put out any of their albums until, this is the first one. They didn't put out this until like 2016, and then a year later they put out the vinyl version. But yeah, as for a debut album from a relatively newer band, it is amazing, very solid. Like I said, even though there's 2 songs that I think are the weakest on the album, even the weakest tracks on here are still really good. Now as for the style, this would definitely get clumped in. I mean, from an outsider's why can't I speak today? From an outside from someone who doesn't know that much about the newer thrash metal stuff, who's more into the old stuff and isn't really, familiar with the newer stuff, they would just look at this and say, oh, it just sounds, like the newer stuff probably. But no, even though this does have, a bit more modern production, I guess overall, it definitely harkens back to old school thrash metal. It does, the style is a bit more old school. Even the overall, the way the production is, yes, you can tell it's a modern production sound, but at the same time, they still incorporate naturally incorporate the more gritty nature of the old school style of production, which again benefits the sound of the album. As for the actual instrumental style, even though it's a bit more, it's a combination of the more fast-paced technical heaviness of thrash as well, but they also incorporate the more melodic stuff and some of the solos as well as a lot of the choruses and stuff, and even some riffs, some of the riffs as well. While also going back and keeping the more straightforward thrash stuff some of the time as well. So it's a very equal balance between more straightforward thrash and more of the more melodic kind of thrash. Not overly melodic, but I guess melodic for thrash metal in general. As for the vocals, like I said, they do kind of fringe on almost death metal-esque vocals at times, but then I think that's what makes them kind of unique. And it's not like the deep guttural kind of death metal, but more of the sort of rasp, the hissy rasp kind of death metal. And yeah, the vocals for the music, you wouldn't think they would go together in theory, but when you hear it, the vocals work very, very well with the actual music. Overall, I think this is one of the best thrash metal albums of the modern era. And even though this is their only album out so far, I really am excited to see what other kind of, what other albums they put out in the future. This is a very promising start to a very amazing band. Yeah, this is an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. One of the best modern thrash metal albums ever. And yeah, I love it all. I love everything about it. It's a 10 out of 10. Yeah, so anyone who's looking for a really good thrash metal album that's, from the modern era, but also kind of has that sort of like harkens back to the classic era of thrash, definitely give this a listen, because I think this is, again, one of the best, modern thrash metal albums. Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.